Here's the point that we're really making. And if you can hear this, and we know you can, then we've established a really good basis to begin, and off we'll go talking about anything that is important to you. So Jerry and Esther are pretty much living in hotels, moving from hotel to hotel, and really enjoying meeting up with you and really enjoying these beautiful hotels, except that room service sucks. Now that's Esther's interpretation of her now reality. So especially breakfast. Eggs are it's not easy to get the egg. This is Esther's expectation. So, and Jerry's, he's even worse. Actually, he's just pickier. So, as they have this run of breakfast, the eggs are rubbery, the bananas are missing, different things. Esther's begged us not to tell you this story again, but we have to tell you because it makes such a wonderful point, and she really doesn't mind. As breakfast comes yet again, incomplete or inadequate or inedible, and they make their plans for their next improved breakfast while they're eating one that's disappointing them, they're going about it at the wrong time. Now we're using the word time, but they're going about it in the wrong frequency. They're going about it from outside the vortex. And this is the thing that makes so many of you work so hard and try so hard and get so little results, because the harder you try from outside the vortex, the more you practice the vibration that disallows what you do want. Did you hear that? We just don't think that there is a clear way of saying you can't get an improved breakfast if you try to get it from the place of eating one that is disappointing you. You can't get there from there. The vibrational frequencies are too far apart. The breakfast in the vortex is a very different frequency than the breakfast that they've been manifesting. So as long as they're talking about the breakfast that they're eating, or remembering the breakfast that they're eating, the other day they had 2 or 3 meals that were not pleasing, and Jerry, they were hungry. It was midnight, and Jerry said, "What do you think about calling down for some Cheerios? What could go wrong?" And Esther said, "You place the order." So Jerry put on his happiest face and his brightest voice and requested with great specifics, "We would like 2 glasses of milk, 2 bowls, and 2 boxes of Cheerios, and 1 banana will be enough, and 2 spoons. And Esther was so proud of him. So, half hour later, there's a knock on the door. There's 1 bowl, 2 bananas, 1 glass of milk. Were there spoons? And Jerry and Esther laughed themselves to sleep that night, because finally they were on their knees shouting, "Uncle, uncle, 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 I give up, I give up, I give up." And we were all so delighted that finally they had come to their senses and realized you can't get the breakfast you want when you're complaining chronically about the breakfast that you've got, because the universe cannot buck your current. And it doesn't matter how well you're doing in other regards. You should see their life. They're magnificent creators. They just can't get breakfast. And the reason they can't get the breakfast they want is because they haven't practiced the breakfast they want. It seems too silly. It seems too insignificant. It seems like you ought to be able to just demand it from the hotel. You ought to be able to ask nice. You ought to be able to let them know that it matters. You ought to be able to, but you can't, because the entire universe is responding to the frequency of your vibration. You could have every well-meaning cook and server on the planet in this hotel, and they would not be able to get the breakfast to Jerry and Esther that they want, because Jerry and Esther are not a vibrational match to the breakfast they want. They are a match to the breakfast they keep getting. And that's the thing that we so want you to understand. You can apply that to a lot of things that are going on in your experience, can't you? In other words, you have to finally decide that you are going to live real time. And this is the thing that's a little tricky about this, because Jerry and Esther would say, well, Abraham, you got to give us this. You really got, and they have said this. You got to give us this. Esther, very strong with us. Abraham, you got to give me this. A vibrational breakfast does not fill my belly. Well, we'll give her that. We will. We'll give her that. The breakfasts that she's been getting haven't been either. In other words, you finally have to come to the place where you accept, and we know it's not hard. Jerry and Esther have been listening to us for a while. They get letters. If you guys can't get it, what chance do we have? And we say, you are vibrational beings, and the way you feel is everything. And they are having fun with it now. They are laughing now. They are understanding it now. But you have to accept that this vibrational reality is the reality, the only reality that you want to tune yourself to. And you have to accept that so completely that no matter what's happening in your physical reality doesn't get your attention. Now, we want to say to all of you, having a breakfast chronically that is not pleasing you in hotels is very light on the scope of human events in comparison with other things that could go wrong. In other words, they're not turning their bus over, they're not crashing their cars, they're not falling off cliffs, they don't have disease-ridden bodies. In other words, their lives are going very, very well. And so we know that it is not an easy thing to be living with sickness in your body and having some ghost crow about this vibrational reality that you should be turning your attention to. We get it. We get it that you've trained yourself to look at your now reality. But you got to stop it. You've got to accept now reality as the bouncing off place that it only is. It was ever only the bouncing off place, and you know that. How often have you really, really wanted something? Esther will say to Jerry, see that beautiful car? I think you should buy that for me. It will make me happy for the afternoon. And haven't you noticed that the manifestations, they don't give you much of a buzz for very long? And the reason they don't give you much of a buzz for very long is because they're not supposed to give you the buzz for very long. They are only always, every manifestation, whether it's your house, whether it's your lover, whether it's your relationships of all kind, whether it's your current business, everything that is your now reality is only the bouncing off place to who you really are. And that's where you have intended to put 100% of your attention, because that's where the whole of you is. That's where the source of you is. That's where the love of you is. That's where the true life of you is. That's who you really are. And if you can get hooked on focusing forward from your manifestational point of view, but into the now reality, it is our promise to you that your lives will feel so good to you that when people watch you walking down the street, they will see you floating in the attitude of well-being and abundance that is where the source within you resides. Have you ever been in an argument with someone who also was sure they were right? And even though you were really sure you were right, they were also sure they were right. And the more the conversation ensues, the more you dig into your position, and you walk away, neither one of you convinced, each believing more firmly. So what we are saying to you is, in this attitude of trying to find the solution while the problem is really active. If you have a financial problem really active, in other words, if this is the moment that you've been worrying, if you've been worrying and something's just happened and your sense of not having enough money is really strong within you, that's the last moment in time for you to sit with affirmation cards that are just going to make you choose the opposing position. You see what we're getting at? But if you find yourself in your vortex, and we'll talk about that. You're in your vortex every day, several times, and you don't even know that you are. You know that moment when your heart just sings just for a moment before you catch yourself and remember how bad things are? If you will be aware to the fact that you're in the vortex, and you will do all of your affirming from inside the vortex, Because when you're in the vortex, when you've awakened, you've had a good night's sleep, you're feeling good, the sun is shining, it's a beautiful day, everything is well in your world, and you then take the time to sit and affirm. These words sound sweet, these words feel good, but more important, these words help you practice the vibration that will allow the abundance that you want. This is the thing that we want you to hear. Whatever you are giving your attention to is causing you to offer a vibration, and the more you do it, the more you are likely to do it. It's like exercising a muscle. So if you're doing all of your trying to make things better from outside the vortex, you're just getting more and more dug in to what isn't working. Where if you wait until you're in the vortex, you wait until your heart is singing, and that's when you affirm, that's when you ponder, that's when you script, that's when you imagine, that's when you think on purpose, milk it a little more, milk it a little more, milk it a little more. Try to preserve the vibration of being in the vortex, that lighthearted, good feeling, loving feeling of being in the vortex. Sometimes Jerry and Esther will get into such a wonderful mode for whatever reason, and they'll just milk it. Anyone who was watching them from outside the vortex would throw up. They just wouldn't be able to take it. They wouldn't be able to stand this deliberate, intentional staying in this vibration of well-being. But we want you to know that that is the secret to deliberate creation. To do your creating from inside the vortex. To be aware first that you are a vibrational being. Next, that you have 2 vibrational vantage points. Next, that your emotions, the way you feel, let you know whether you're in the vortex or not, whether you're moving toward it or moving away from it. And then finally, doing all of your deliberate intending, all of your contemplating. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would counsel our children 100% of the time from inside the vortex. We would make 100% of our airline reservations or our breakfast reservations from inside the vortex. We would make sure that we are in the vortex before we would set anything into motion at all. Because the things you set into motion when you're not in the vortex will play out in just that way. It's a wonderful thing when you begin to feel consciously and exercise deliberately the power of your alignment with who you are. It is such a wonderful thing to be an in the vortex mentor, an in the vortex parent, an in the vortex grandparent, an in the vortex employer, an in the vortex friend, an in the vortex lover. Oh, an in the vortex lover, an in the vortex lover. There is no love so sweet as an in the vortex lover, you see. You just got to accept that you are vibrational beings. What do you want to talk about? Stuff. We're going to have a really, really, really good day. On the aisle. Stand if you think it's you. You are the one.
Boy, that is close.
And not over.
Fix it.
We're eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. Nothing is off limits. You've already got the sense of what we're going to be talking about. We are going to inspire you into your vortex. We just want to show you the power, just for a little while, of getting in there. The immediate relief. A woman said, Abraham, I hear you, but my body hurts me. I have arthritis. How can I feel positive emotion when I'm in physical pain? And we say, yeah, you can accept the physical pain as your current reality. And you can reach for a feeling of hope. Or you can reach for a feeling of fear. The vibrational difference between hope and fear is the difference between recovery or not, you see. So we get it that arthritis and bad breakfasts are hard to take. We get it that there's stuff happening that you don't want to have happen. But we want you to stop mining it, because the vibrational frequency of the problem and the vibrational frequency of the solution are very different frequencies. You can't get there from there.